Hacker News Network presents HNN Cast with your host, Space Rogue.
HNN Cast is sponsored by Astaro, simplifying security, and by TrustWave Spider Labs, providing advanced information security services to planet Earth. Become a sponsor. Email sales@hackernews.com.
This is Space Rogue for the Hacker News Network, and this is HNN Cast for the last week of January 2011. Our top story this week: an unknown intruder has broken into the Facebook account of the head honcho himself, Mark Zuckerberg, and posted a bizarre message calling upon the firm to allow its users to invest in and create a social business. The defaced page received over 1,800 likes before it was removed by Facebook. Facebook claims that the defacement was the cause of a bug in the API that has now been fixed and not an account compromise. Facebook, that's what bugs are. Hello? Of course, Zuckerberg's page wasn't the only high-profile page to recently be defaced. French President Nicolas Sarkozy's Facebook account was also compromised, and a message posted that he would not seek re-election next year and would be stepping down. If Facebook can't keep the pages of the President of France or its own CEO secure, what hope do the rest of you have? It's amazing what you can find on certain forums if you know where to look. Well, not really amazing, but still shocking to some. Security vendor Impervia was poking around in some black market forums and found someone willing to sell access to numerous .mil and .gov sites. According to Impervia, root access could be had for between $33 and $499. Some of the affected sites included states of Utah and Michigan, a few low-level Department of Defense sites, and even the government of Italy. These sites will probably be bought by spammers who will then bury links to malware or online pharmacies. Thanks to Brian Krebs for the screenshots. So last week, HNN told you how the FBI finally filed charges against Weave, aka Andrew Weinharmer, and arrested Jackson Brown, aka Daniel Spittler, for their role in siphoning off a few thousand email addresses of iPad owners from the AT&T website. This week, the rest of their compatriots at GoatC Security have started a defense fund and have posted a, quote, insurance file online. They have not mentioned what exactly is in this 127 meg encrypted archive, but they have said it has nothing to do with iPads or AT&T and is definitely not the iPad email list, which they claim has been deleted. We also have a link to the actual script that Weave and Brown used to harvest the emails. If you're interested, you can find it in the comments of this episode at hackernews.com. Oh, and GoatC Security plans to release the key for the encrypted archive after a verdict is handed down for Weave and Brown. They didn't mention if it mattered which verdict. I have to say that without knowing what might possibly be in the file, who cares? I mean, how is this insurance against anything, really? Is this supposed to scare the jury into an acquittal? I don't get it. But this story just keeps on going. Late Wednesday night last week, the GoatC Security website looked like it had been compromised by someone claiming to expose GoatC's gaping hole. Not sure that's a hole I really want exposed. There's still a lot of poop going down in Tunisia and Egypt right now, as patriots in both countries attempt to water their liberty tree with the blood of some tyrants. One of the tools they are using to help them is, of course, social media websites. At the same time, the tyrants are trying to stop that through various efforts. Facebook, for one, has decided to take some action to help the patriots defend themselves against the intrusions of the tyrants. Finally, Facebook has decided to turn on SSL. Not for everyone and not all the time. You have to specifically opt in, but the option is there, and while we think Facebook should have done this a hell of a long time ago, we're glad to see it finally happen. Now it just needs to be the default. However, don't depend on SSL too much, especially in Tunisia, as the country does have its own digital certification agency and can create its own valid SSL search and could easily create fake ones to trap people's logins. So be careful out there. In a related story, at least one faction of the online group Anonymous has launched Operation Egypt.
To the Egyptian government, Anonymous challenges all those who are involved in censorship. Anonymous wants you to offer free access to uncensored media in your entire country. When you ignore this message, not only will we attack your government websites, Anonymous will also make sure that the international media sees the horrid reality you impose upon your people. Anonymous will not spare anybody who supports this suppression. It is in the hands of the Egyptian government to end this. Continue your repression, and you will be subject to civil protest. Lend an ear to the claim of freedom from your people, and the hostilities will cease.
Operation Egypt is calling for free and uncensored access to all media within the country. In an effort to achieve that goal, they have chosen, ironically, to silence the speech of the very same government by launching DDoS attacks against a few key government websites. Anonymous might also want to take a look at the Massachusetts legislature, which has also moved to quell free speech by banning Twitter from the legislature's networks. According to tech staffers at the state of Massachusetts, it is because Twitter is full of viruses, and yet they let Facebook through, huh? And in a related story, there are late reports this week of people being arrested in England for launching DDoS attacks in support of WikiLeaks a couple weeks ago. We'll have more on that next week, right here on H&N Cast. We'll be back with more H&N Cast right after these messages.
This is Ronan, and you're watching Hacker News Network.
Bye, 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 bye.
Welcome back to H&N Cast. The Fedora project suffered a breach of at least one user account last weekend. However, Fedora officials said they don't believe that the attacker was able to push any changes to the Fedora package system. The attack appears to have targeted one specific user account, which had some high-value privileges. The compromise could have been far worse, as the account that was hacked had the ability to push access to the Fedora SCM and perform builds and make changes to Fedora packages. But significantly, the Fedora infrastructure team's investigation didn't find that the intrusion resulted in any changes to the Fedora software itself. The attack wasn't noticed until the owner of the compromised account received an email stating that his account details had been changed when he knew he hadn't made any changes. Hey, props to the alert user. You don't see many of them these days. You can use my network anytime. Sometimes a simple breach gets way more press than it deserves, as is the case with the recent compromise of Lush.co.uk, which is totally separate from the US and other countries' sites. After the breach, which administrators think went on for about 4 months, the operators took the site completely offline and posted a rather humorous message. Part of the message was directed at the attacker, where they almost offer the guy a job, but then claim that his morals are obviously not compatible with theirs. I suppose it would be a lot more funny if the bad guys hadn't already started using the credit card details they grabbed during the attacks to defraud the victim. Lush thought it was so funny they actually created a video of lemmings in an attempt to cheer themselves up. Hey, Lush, you got enough time on your hands to make corny little videos? How about spending that time looking at your own website and protecting your customers? Instead of sitting on your for 4 months and then laughing about it afterwards, how about, I don't know, helping out the people who have been victimized due to your negligence instead of making stupid little videos? Sorry. There's been a lot of research being done on the Android OS and seeing just how far you can go with trying to exploit different aspects of it. One such tactic has been developed in the proof of concept Sound Miner. The Sound Miner Trojan listens to your voice or your number pad for credit card numbers, packages them up, and then sends them off to an attacker. Attacks like these are going to be harder and harder for Android to prevent. Right now, things are just in the research phase and require user interaction to get installed, but it won't take long to see such attacks in the real world that may bypass Android security checks. Some other interesting Android research popped up at Black Hat DC last week. Since the USB protocol has no authentication or other security measures in place, it is easy for a device to masquerade as a different device, like say a keyboard or a mouse. The research presented did just that, using an Android phone to control the PC over the USB cable. Some of the press this research received didn't really understand the implications of this and assumed an attacker would try to trick you into attaching an already compromised device to your computer. Hey, buddy, can I charge my phone on your laptop? No, the real danger is much larger. When the Android phone you already have becomes compromised remotely, and then you plug it into your own machine, you have just compromised yourself over an insecure USB channel. Scary stuff. Time to tighten up USB and add some basic security to that channel. The Trojan responsible for most banking fraud has not been sitting idly content with its current feature set. No, its authors continue to modify and upgrade its code. it would appear that Zeus has started to shift away from the defrauding traditional banks and has started to target electronic money and online payment systems. This could be in part to increased vigilance on the part of banks to stop ACH fraud before it happens. Several dozen different Zeus variants have shown up in the last few weeks that don't target banks, but instead target sites like SnowChecks, WebMoney, MoneyBooker, NetSpend, and even eGold. Because of how Zeus works, you might not know you have a problem until all your money is gone. That's it for big news. We'll have the quickies later, but first, it's tool time, fool!
Does everybody know what time it is? Tool time! That's right, Bim for Tools is proud to present
Space Rogue.
First, the updates. Armitage, the UI for Metasploit, the Social Engineer Toolkit, or SET, Dark Comet's Rat, and Loftcrack have all been updated, so get the latest. And the Zed Attack Proxy, or ZAP, now has the Bean Shell extension. Now, into the Phresh. Rather than going into all the different web scanner updates this week, we'll point out WAVSEP 1.0, the Web Application Vulnerability Scanner Evaluation Project. It attempts to benchmark as many of the tools in the space as the project can manage, which is about 40 of them right now. Damn, that's a lot of web scanners. VoIPPackin is an exploit pack for Immunity Canvas. Wow, there are quite a few third-party exploit packs for that framework now. Anyway, lots of Cisco and Trixbox FreeBBX fun in this one, including MOSDEF backdoor installation. That's your yin for this week. Not a whole lot compared to your yang. The Mobius Forensic Toolkit has been released. Mobius Forensic Toolkit is an open-source forensics framework written in Python GTK that manages cases and case items, providing an abstract interface for developing extensions. Cases and item categories are defined using XML files for easy integration with other tools. Luka is a new powerful anti-rootkit, which among other features detects hidden process drivers and devices, checks driver signatures, and basically polices all sorts of kernel hooks. Sounds like it could be pretty rad to run alongside, say, El Jefe that we told you about last week. Bouncer is the first enterprise-ready application whitelisting solution to protect endpoints for all major versions of Windows, Macs, and Linux, with continued support for Solaris implementations. Instead of deploying 25-year-old reactive technology that continues to prove more and more ineffective against today's threats, this is an opportunity for users to start fresh by implementing proactive cross-platform application whitelisting for Macs, Linux, and Windows. While we're playing policeman here, MAEC is a standardized language for encoding and communicating high-fidelity information about malware based upon attributes such as behaviors, artifacts, and attack patterns. If you're looking to build up the malware hunter community, agreeing on a language is a good step to take. That's it for this week's Tool Time. Join us next week for our salute to Tool Time. We'll be back with more H&N Cast right after these messages.
Hello. This is a classified message from Anonymous. Mass publication is strictly recommended. After numerous attacks on the truth-spilling platform of WikiLeaks, including the shutdown of its financing, we have already made it very clear that we will fight for freedom of speech and a free press. But we have, at best, given them the black eye. The game has changed. When the game changes, so too must our strategies. We are now moving forward to phase 2 of our war on disinformation terror, introducing Operation Leak Spin. Become part of the hive and join a fight we can only win with information. Begin searching through WikiLeaks. Find only the best, least exposed leaks you can get your hands on. Post summaries of them, along with the complete source. Encourage the reader to read more. Make 1 to 2 minute YouTube videos reading the leaks. Use misleading tags. Post snippets of the leaks everywhere on the internet. Remember, we are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget.
And now for a few quick stories we found on the net this week. Last week, our lead story was about the sudden disappearance of the popular security blogger and analyst Dancho. Well, he seems to be back tweeting and blogging almost as if nothing happened. We don't know what exactly did happen, but we're glad he's back. The official website for the Argentine Air Force was defaced last week in protest of a supposed cover-up of a UFO crash in the city of Mendoza back in 1985. The defacement lasted for a few hours before officials could clean it up. We're not sure about the UFOs. The country of Iran has announced the launch of its first cyber police unit to be stationed in Tehran. The country hopes to deploy cyber police to all districts by next year. I suppose you only want to get hit with something as bad as Stuxnet once. Speaking of which, the Stuxnet removal tool has been downloaded over 100,000 times from Malware City. The Conficker Working Group released a report that says it was successful in killing the Conficker botnet by preventing the individual bots from communicating with its owner. Despite the fact that up to 15 million machines may remain infected, the working group is still claiming success in the operation. Apple has been snapping up some high-level security talent over the last year or so. Most recently, they grabbed David Rice to be their new head of global security. Rice is perhaps best known for writing the book Geekonomics, which details just how costly insecure software can be. One has to wonder just what Apple is up to. They have recently hired Wendell Snyder from Mozilla and Microsoft, Ivan Kristic from OLPC, and John Callis from PGP.
They definitely have the knowledge.
They definitely have the knowledge. Now let's hope they can execute at whatever it is they're working on. There have been a few worms circulating on Twitter the last few weeks that use Google's URL shortening service, goo.gl. The shortened URLs point to sites filled with malware, including fake AV, as well as retweeting themselves from victim accounts. Admin POOPNUGGET. Real original. That's the login and password combination that someone posted to 4chan last week. It belonged to the Student Information System for the Plainfield School District just west of Newark, New Jersey. Of course, 4chan members had a lot of fun changing school lunch prices, reducing class credits, and some other shenanigans. The school has called in the cops, and they are investigating, presumably after the password was changed. There are some rumors floating around that the people behind the Pirate Bay may soon be launching the Music Bay. The domain name was registered some time ago, but never used. Now, the subdomain fear.themusicbay.org displays a coming soon banner. That's all the quick stories we found on the net this week. That means it's time for your Con Fu.
Con Fu is sponsored by Source Conference, a global security, technology, and business forum.
HackInParis happens in June this year in Paris. They're hoping for a larger, more formal con this year, and well, they've definitely got the venue right for a security con, Euro Disney. Their call for papers is open until the end of March. Well, Defcon 19 is still about 180 days away or so. There is word that both the popular social engineering contest and the Be the Match program for bone marrow donations will return this year. Phew, that's a relief. I was getting worried. If you've been on the fence about attending B-Side San Francisco next month, take a look at the talk schedule that has just been posted. Why even bother going to RSA? All the good talks will be at B-Sides. However, I suspect that by the time you watch this, they'll probably already be filled up. So if you really want to go, you better check and sign up now. You know, we cover a lot of cons here every week. If you added up all the talks at all the cons, well, you'd have a pretty big number. Even if you just counted the talks at the big ones like Black Hat, you're still talking about several hundred talks every year. Well, a new organization called ThreatScapes hopes to relieve you of the burden of attending all the talks at all the cons. They plan on condensing the relevant information into easily digestible chunks and then giving subscribers those chunks every quarter. Okay, well, giving isn't really the correct word here. Selling is a more accurate description. This unknown, unheard of group with who knows what content wants $8,000 for a quarterly newsletter. Now, I know it can cost several grand to attend just one week-long con like Black Hat, and you won't be able to see everything. But dudes, even Warren Buffett only charges like $4,000 for his newsletter. I mean, come on. And I'm sure that RSA, Black Hat, Source, and the other big cons won't like it too much when they find out that you're selling their content. Good luck, guys, but I'm not subscribing. And if you're thinking of subscribing, let me suggest an alternative. Just watch H&N Cast every week instead. We'll bring you all the juicy news for free. Can't beat that. And now for the stack of shame. This is the last week before Day Zero, the day we have been counting down to the last few months. Day Zero will mark exactly 6 months since ZDI said they were going to release to the public the unpatched vulnerabilities that it had been collecting. We figured we'd make this nice little chart here with how the stack of shame has been shrinking and growing over the last year. You can see in red the total stack size. Notice that it really hasn't changed that much. The section in green represents everything that fell into the big Day Zero announcement. Ooh, pretty. The main impact of these changes at ZDI is yet to be seen. Will we be able to keep tracking how many unpatched products are out there in circulation, even after these move from ZDI's upcoming list to their published list? If not, this may be our last Stack of Shame birthday party. Let's celebrate! Turning 1 year old this week, Sun's high-risk vulnerability discovered on January 26th of last year by Sammy Kovu. Sun has 3 open bugs at this point, including this one. I guess you can add that to Stepdaddy Oracle's 4 for a total of 7. Turning 2 years old this week, HP peppers us with quadruplets, all high risk, all discovered on January 26th of 2009 by Anonymous. We assume that's not the group Anonymous. Interesting fact, HP doesn't just own the Stack of Shame because it spent so much time as the bottom dweller, or because it's the second only to Adobe by having 16 bugs on the list. All but one of them high risk and all 16 of them open for more than 50 days. No, HP literally owns the list by owning ZDI's corporate parent, Tipping Point. Tune in next week to see what happens. We'll probably have one last Stack of Shame. Then the week after that, who knows? We'll at least have a story for you. Until then, here's the Stack of Shame, the list of all known open vulnerabilities as cataloged by the Zero Day Initiative.
Welcome to the real world.
That's it for this week's H&N Cast. I've been your host, Space Rogue, and you've been watching the Hacker News Network.
Remember, if you have any news you think we should report, send it to news@hackernews.com. You have been watching H&N Cast. This is Space Rogue for the Hacker News Network.
Funny do bad things.